My family staged an intervention with a hired financial coach to trap me into a debt I never owed. They thought I was cornered, powerless, and easy to destroy. But they forgot one thing. I'm an audit nightmare, and I didn't just sue them for millions, I turned their own expert into the star witness against them. If you've ever been underestimated, betrayed, or pushed to the edge, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and get ready to witness a story where patience, strategy, and intelligence turn the tables in the most satisfying way possible. Let's dive in. My name is Vivian, and I come from a family that, on the surface, looked flawless, wealthy, polished, socially untouchable. But behind the veneer of perfection, the air was heavy with control, manipulation, and fear of me. Or so they thought. I had always been the quiet one, the daughter who stayed in the shadows, observing. I watched as my parents and extended family wielded their wealth like a weapon. Every conversation was a test, every gesture loaded with judgment. I wasn't the one they trusted with power. I was the one they thought could be easily crushed. That illusion shattered one evening when I walked into what they called a family intervention. But it wasn't therapy. It wasn't concern. It was a trap. My family had hired a financial coach, a supposedly impartial expert, to paint me as reckless, irresponsible, and dangerously in debt. According to them, I was the family problem that needed to be neutralized. The room smelled faintly of expensive candles and tension. The coach sat at the head of the table, a professional mask over his face, but I could see the unease in his eyes. My relatives circled me like predators. My heart pounded not just from fear, but from a deep, burning anger. Every word they spoke, every accusation hurled at me, tightened the knot in my chest. They had underestimated me. They had forgotten something crucial. I knew how to read numbers and people like a book. I listened quietly, my fists tightening under the table. Each fabricated figure, every manipulated ledger, made my skin crawl. But I didn't react. My grandfather's voice echoed in my head. Patience and precision will always outmaneuver brute force and arrogance. And that's when I began to plan. I spent nights poring over records, receipts, bank statements, every single document I could access. I traced every transaction, every misstatement, every false claim. I didn't just find their lies, I mapped them. I discovered where the money really went, how they tried to shift blame, and most importantly, how their hired expert had unknowingly collected all the evidence I needed to turn the game around. To them, the intervention was supposed to terrify me. To me, it was an opportunity. Every insult, every smirk, every condescending glance became fuel. I imagined their faces when the tables would be turned. The thrill wasn't just in revenge, it was in justice. They had tried to make me powerless. Instead, I would prove that power wasn't inherited or bought, it was earned, wielded, and, most importantly, understood. For weeks I played their game quietly, subtly. I let the hired coach continue his reports, nodding and taking notes, all while I gently coaxed him into seeing the discrepancies they had hidden. I wasn't confrontational, I was methodical. I asked questions, highlighted minor inconsistencies, and let his own expertise guide him toward the truth. Meanwhile, my family grew smug. They laughed behind my back, thinking their trap was foolproof. They thought I'd panic, crumble, beg for mercy. But what they didn't see was me, quietly building a case so airtight that even their own hired expert couldn't ignore it. The thrill of anticipation was intoxicating, the knowledge that every lie they planted, every manipulation, would soon backfire spectacularly. The turning point came during a private session with the coach. He was meticulous, thorough, and meticulous, but he was human. I walked him through a series of questions, showing him small, undeniable inconsistencies. His brow furrowed, doubt creeping into his professional mask. Slowly, carefully, I nudged him toward realization. The evidence he had used to frame me was built on lies. By the time our next family meeting occurred, the stage was set. I didn't storm in with anger. I didn't shout or accuse. I smiled, calm and composed, and let the documents speak for themselves. I've reviewed everything, I said, and it seems the debt I supposedly owe doesn't exist. The room froze. My relatives' smug expressions faltered, eyes darting between me and the coach. Then, the bomb dropped. The coach, who had been their ally, spoke up. His voice was careful, measured, but the impact was seismic. Actually, after reviewing these documents more closely, it appears there's a significant discrepancy in your calculations. The evidence does not support the claims against Vivian. In fact, some of the misstatements seem to originate from your own internal records. Silence, shock, betrayal, all in the same heartbeat. Their carefully orchestrated intervention had turned into their undoing. The very person they hired to destroy me had become the star witness in their failure. The aftermath was a mix of legal chaos and quiet satisfaction. Lawsuits were filed, audits were launched, and every family member who had attempted to frame me found themselves under scrutiny. I didn't just win, I dominated. Every plan they had, every strategy, every underestimation of me had been used against them. But the most satisfying part wasn't the money, the settlements, or the legal victories. It was the shift in power, the recalibration of respect. I had been treated like powerless, like a problem to be erased. Instead, I emerged as the one holding the leverage, the knowledge, and the truth. Their arrogance had blinded them, and that blindness had become their undoing. Betrayal hurts, but it doesn't define you. Knowledge, patience, and strategy can transform vulnerability into strength. My family tried to frame me, control me, erase me, but they underestimated one thing. When you truly understand the system, the rules, and human nature, you don't just survive, you thrive. If you've ever been underestimated, betrayed, or pushed to your limits, share this video and let others witness the power of patience, strategy, and knowledge. Comment below with the most satisfying revenge story you've ever witnessed. And don't forget, subscribe for more stories where justice isn't just served, it's exquisitely executed.